Well, hey there. Welcome to Create Yourself, a podcast designed to support people in dealing with their struggles and helping them create their best lives. I'm very honored to be relaunching my podcast here with this episode. My name is Paul Nelson, the founder. This all began a few years ago. Having many struggles as a millennial, I thought I wanted to share this with others and help others deal with their problems, and that's what it's created. Put a few episodes out, and now I'm bringing it back after over a year off the air. And I'm very excited because this is a very unique episode. I'm bringing in one of my best friends, a gentleman named Hugh Zhang, who I met in 2006 when we were both freshmen at the University of Wisconsin Madison. And we both started a network marketing business back then, and just about the same time. And I was able to watch Hugh put together a multi-million dollar company of students, very diverse background all over the globe, and built it very successfully to the point where he was getting paid to travel the world and speak and share his story, was making solid income, was recognized, was speaking on stages in front of thousands and thousands of people. And for some reason in 2018, Hugh decided to walk away from his business. And I was mesmerized. I was unsure of what went down and why. And I've been wondering. And since then, I've also walked away in the last few months from my own network marketing business that I built. And now I found the time where I have jumped into the nomadic lifestyle and been spending some time with Hugh and delving deep. And I got some real answers on why he left. And I'm very excited to share that with all of you. And I appreciate Hugh for making the time. So if you've ever heard of network marketing, are in a network marketing business, have been introduced to it, considered it, this is the episode to listen to. And it's simply sharing his experience. It's not endorsing it. It's not putting it down. It's just simply, here are the pros, here are the cons. Here's what he experienced and I experienced, and make up your own mind. I hope this helps, and just sending love and gratitude to all of you. So here you go. Enjoy. My best life, because my favorite quote is "My life is my message" by Gandhi. It's the best message I can give to people is living my best life. Mm-hmm. To live my life so boldly that I inspire others. So like I have a friend, really huge shout out to my friend. Her name's Kayla Milady. She's the 2-time world female beatbox champion. Mm-hmm. And she just was on a play in Broadway where she was the understudy for the beatboxer position. Mm-hmm. And she was awesome, and I got to see her. It was really cool. Mm-hmm. And she's so humble and down to earth, and she's accomplished so much, and yet she's so humble and all about education and giving back and doesn't care about the fanfare. And to her, this Broadway show was nothing because she was already doing that same stuff before, but now it's to everybody else it was a big deal. Mm-hmm. And I was explaining to her, I was like, it is a big deal. Maybe it's not a big deal to you, but because, being on Broadway to everybody else is a big deal.
Right.
And by accomplishing something that big, you're empowering them unconsciously just through your actions to say, wow, if she can create something like that big, I can do it too. And that's because that's how I feel. Seeing her do that, after seeing how hard she's had to grind and how amazing she is, and to see her do that, I was like, holy shit, I could do whatever. Mm-hmm. Same thing with with the way you've been living your life, Hugh. Like, you're just traveling the world doing this amazing stuff. You don't need to say any words. Your life speaks for yourself.
Yeah.
How happy you are speaks for yourself. Mm-hmm. People are either attracted to that or they're not.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like this life that he was creating, and I want to learn from it. And so that's it. It's like that, and that's how I'm living my life now, is to just be so boldly living my life in a way that brings joy to myself and is unapologetically just going for what I love. Mm-hmm. That's what brought me to California, brought me to Nevada, created me living a nomad life. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's why I was not in the rush to make a podcast to talk about why I decided to leave network marketing. I thought about making a podcast for over a year. At some point I need to make this podcast to talk about why I made the decision. Yeah. But I was not in the rush to make it because I can live my life, and that shows a lot of people about what I'm doing, what I'm trying to create. It doesn't have to be I need to talk about right away.
Yeah, the ones that want to know will ask, and
right.
They have.
Yeah. And I also want to be in the right also position to talk about it properly. without having all those, when you first going through that, like what you're feeling right
just
now.
Like getting out of a relationship, it's still raw.
Yeah, it's very raw, and you might feel like you're dropping everything, that we built up to that point. For me, 12 years being in the network marketing business, right? I feel like, I drop everything.
A lot of friendships, you had a lot of recognition.
The people,
you
the
were
business.
a big deal. Everyone looked up to you. You get to speak on stages in front of thousands of people,
right?
Making lots of money, all these friendships, and you walked away from it.
Right. I was basically leaving at the peak of the business that I have achieved at that point.
Yeah.
We have the business that we have built as a team, collectively, we've done millions of dollars in business. Millions. We have hundreds of people in the team that, attend business conferences. But I decided to drop all of that because when I realized, the good that I saw is no longer even close to the bad. And some of the stuff that's like borderline evil. And for me, it becomes, I have to make this decision to leave because it just becomes so clear to me. I didn't get that right. I didn't get to that point right away. It took me a couple months to get to that point, to understand, to really evaluate what I was doing and what this organization is really about. It took me a couple months to actually get to that thinking, understanding, to make the decision. And that's why, I took off back in 2018. That's why I left, right? 2018. That summer, I took off to Europe for a couple months to just so I can get away from the entire network marketing team and the people, so I can think very clearly, without being reinforced this mindset again and again in this business environment, the people. So I can think very clearly without the habit and the momentum that's coming with this, repeating, doing the things that we were doing. And it becomes very clear that leaving the business team is the only right choice for me. It's only the right decision. And here's why, right?
You use the word evil, so you got to explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I have to I definitely need to explain that. So, the good thing that you and I both have seen in our marketing is that it does give us a platform to grow as a person, to learn a lot of great skills.
Yeah.
Public speaking, learn to really step out of comfort zone to, talk to people, building actual business. In a lot of sense, we did build a business, even though we didn't get involved in the product creation, in the, a lot of
research, the patents.
Yeah, like all the stuff that coming, also very critical part of entrepreneurship. But we did get involved a lot in the sales, the networking, the team building aspects.
Yeah.
And balancing our budget for our business, like all the stuff that comes in that aspect, we learn all those knowledge in the business.
Yeah, and leading teams as well.
And for you, you learn to literally build a business internationally, from nothing in the Caribbean islands, and for how many people look up to you for that, right? Mm-hmm. So we've done all of those in the past 12, 13 years, and you and I being in network marketing business, and that's definitely no doubt the good parts. And also the people that we met, some of the people we still love dearly. They're still very close to our hearts. Some of them are still in the business. Some of them left. Like, for example, Elliot is probably the number one person that for both of us has impacted us so greatly because he's the one that really got us in the business.
Yeah.
That led us when we were just young, dumb teenagers, really.
Yeah, we were.
And, coach us how to build business, how to be a hard-driven person. To actually he actually lived the model that this organization that claimed that they are, which is empowering people, right, around the world and loving people. He's actually that person that really attracted us into the business in the first place. Right. So that's one of the good things that we got from this business and from this environment. And for many years we loved it. We were the living and breathing in the business. Even though, it was marketed as we can build this part-time or we can build this at the pace we want. But for us, it was never really a part-time business. We're fully dedicated, to this team and to the business model. And that's why we achieved quite a lot, for the past decade that we've been in the business.
Yeah.
But then, so let me explain what I mean by why the good I saw, it doesn't even come close. Eventually when I saw very clearly what this organization is about, the bad and some other things is even borderline evil. Let me explain that. So the whole thing really, for me, it started really a couple months before I left for Europe in 2018. The biggest trigger for me to really think about, like, you know what, I need to really consider if I still want to stay in the business. It was because back in 2018, this person in my business team came to me. He got himself basically into some legal trouble that at a point where the immigration had to open the book and look into his case. He came to me, he said, Hugh, you know what, because the immigration had to look into my case, and therefore they actually look into my past. And my immigration lawyer told me that because I was actually involved in network marketing as a student, as an international student with international student visa, that this actually is illegal and it's going to make my case even more severe. It become even more a problem for me because of that reason. And that's the first time we actually have a immigration lawyer that confirmed with us that it is not a gray area. It's actually straight up illegal for any international students to engage in network marketing business. And that basically shocked us both, because for so many years, for over 10 years that we're in business, we always was told that it is a gray area. Oh, no, don't worry, international student can build network marketing business because, in our visa, it only states that we cannot work a job unless it's in campus, but it didn't say that you cannot build a business, you can still invest in stock market, you can buy real estate. We'll use an example to basically tell students why it's okay to build network marketing business as an international student, because it's a gray area for many, many, many years. And because of that, we actually brought in hundreds and hundreds of international students in the team, and we see this entire organization probably brought in thousands in the last 10 years. Not even, for the whole organization for the 40 years, I don't even know how many international students ever got involved. Thousands, easily, right? If not 10,000s. So at that point, I realized, this is not a gray area. It's black and white. But if it's told to us that it's gray and it's not an issue, but then it is an issue because whenever the immigration decide to look into any our team members' case, they will find out that yes, this person has engaged in network marketing when they were in student visa, and that's illegal, and they basically now have to take the risk of getting deported back to their own country. And later on, I found out that when you apply for a U.S. green card residency, you have to answer this question, which is like, have you basically made income when you were students, which you are not allowed if you're not working on campus. Or when you basically apply for U.S. citizenship, there is a ethnic clause, basically. They can turn down your application if they find you have some ethical issues, including lying in federal government forms. So this is not like a small matter. It will follow international students for the rest of their life if they decide to stay in the U.S. and become a resident or citizen. So I realized at that point, I was lied to start day one, actually. Because when I joined the business, the first question I asked was like, hey, I'm a student on a visa. I understand I cannot work in the U.S. as a student unless I work in campus, which I did. I worked all 4 years in campus. Can I engage in the business? I remember asking this person who's also international background, and he's like, oh, no, it's fine. It's totally gray area. Like, he said, hey, look, champ, like everybody else, like, look at all those people. We are all international. We're all here. We all have green cards. It's not a problem. And I was so young, obviously, and don't have the money to hire a lawyer. And didn't even think about that because, when you're young, 19 years old, we don't think about this kind of stuff. And I remember actually 3 or 4 years after I got involved in the business, because at that point, we already brought in a lot of international students. And this standard answer of like, oh, it's a gray area, don't worry, it was not good enough for me. I always want to let me get to the bottom of it. I want to actually have a real, straight up answer for the students that will ask this question. So I actually called the network marketing corporation. I asked them, say, hey, we have international student that's interested in doing this business. I want to know, can they actually build network marketing businesses with international student visa? And the corporate customer representative gave me a straight up no answer. She said, no, you cannot. If you're on student visa, you should not be engaging in the business. I was really confused. They just told me no. So I called up this person again who was, considered my mentor at that point. He's like, oh yeah, don't worry about it. This company, they have to say no because they don't want to be legally liable. Because it's a gray area, so therefore they can't say yes. They have to say no just to be safe. And again, I was, dumb and naive. I believed it. I said, okay, well, maybe he has a point. Yeah, maybe it is a gray area and this company don't want to say yes and be sued for it if later on they change the law to become no, right? But right now it's a gray area, it's okay. So that's always been what we tell ourselves and tell the people that were brought in, like, oh, it's a gray area, don't worry, it's fine. And in a lot of ways, it's easy to believe that because none of the people that we knew have ever run into the issue, right? So we believed that for many, many years, last 10, 12 years, right? Until that point that this member in my team came to me and revealed to me that his immigration lawyer told him straight up, like, no, you did this back when you were students, and that is going to make your case worse because that's illegal. So when you go to the court and the judge look at your case, they were like, you know what, you did this when you were a student, you were making money, illegally engaging in a network marketing business. There will be one more thing that will add to your case. I mean, he actually ended up have to leave the country for his original, problem that he was created for himself. He had to leave the country for a couple of years before he can reapply to come back. So that was the whole trigger. At that point, I realized, you know what, this is not what I thought this organization was about. Because also at that point, we were going through this entire transition to like, oh, let's be more transparent. Let's become this organization that's a little bit more, just upfront with people about what it takes to build this company, to build this business. It's all about let's be more honest and more transparent. But then when I realized, like, we're talking about being transparent, but this issue still exists, and nobody has really openly addressed this.
Yeah, but maybe they just didn't know. So.
Yeah, I thought about maybe they didn't know, but like, it logically won't make sense in my head. For 40 years that this team has been around, and for tens and thousands of them have international backgrounds, there's no way, or very, very low probability that I and this person that in our team, we are the first ones to find out about this. It's a very, very small percentage of possibility that will happen. And even if that's the case, that we really somehow are the first one to discover this, it also proves to me another point is that these people never really care to find out. If you make all those money that you claim to make, you're millionaires, you retire, you're financially free for so many years, you couldn't find one lawyer and invest like 1 hour to just get to the bottom of it, to know that, hey, you know what, here's a statement from immigration lawyer that we consulted to show you that it's legal, don't worry, you can do this.
It also gets their financial interest, so they'd rather not know. It's like an overweight person doesn't want to go on the scale because they don't want to know how much they weigh.
So for me, then, yeah, exactly. For me, that was like, there's no answer they can give it to me that would make sense. So that's the point that's when I realized, you know what, I need to get away from all of this to rethink my decision. Do I want to come back and still work with this team knowing this information that we basically has been told this lie for many, many years?
Because to some people that might be something little, but to you that's a breach of trust. And because they weren't honest with you for years, you've been registering international students and lying to them.
Basically, and I've been helping them on their behalf, basically.
And you didn't know.
And I didn't know that I've been helping them on their behalf. So to you, it's a really big
deal. Because some people might be running a network marketing business, not work with any international students, so they might have, to them, they're like, what's the big deal?
Right, exactly. So for some other team people, maybe they don't really have any international student in their team, they can say, yeah, we just don't know and we don't have any people. So they can have a reason to not really care about this. But for the people that we work very closely, that's not the case.
Yeah,
they have a high percentage. For some of them, majority of their growth was because they have built this business team all over campuses. Remember those days when we literally built organizations revolving around campuses?
I mean, yeah.
And many of them are international students get involved.
Yeah.
A high percentage, right? So that's why I realized I need to get away from this for a couple of months just to clear my head and really reevaluate this business and this team from very clear mindset. And it came to me after I come back, after a couple months to just like get away and travel and just have a very clear head. After I come back, now here's when the second confirmation come in. I came back to Chicago. I don't have any reason to live in Chicago anymore. So even without all the things that happened later, I want to tell you right now, I knew that, you know what, this is probably the end for me. I'm no longer going to be okay with bringing people into this organization. I no longer feel good about that. Because I know the bad that I saw, even this one thing, just like the one scenario is already enough. Yeah. I have all the other reasons too that I thought about this entire trip. That's like some of the business practices I don't agree at all.
Because to some people who maybe don't understand what you're talking about, that it creates a bitter picture that if somebody's willing to lie to you for this many years about something, then it paints a bigger picture of a lack of integrity.
Yeah, basically. And they can maybe justify, it's like, oh, you know, Hugh, like,
the ends
none
of
us got caught because, you know, we can, you know, say whatever we want in the form and nobody actually opened the case and look into it. But the issue is that that's not your decision to make. This is my decision to make. It should be, I will give you all the facts and you decide, you know, what risk you would take and what you want to do. But that was never the case. They decided for us that it's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you're okay with not reviewing all the facts. But that's not a decision to make.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, maybe they don't want to ever lie in any scenarios.
I got it. It's
right? Now we're forced into this situation now that we're in a very, very bad position.
Misleading people is what you're saying, yeah.
Exactly. If we do not lie about the scenario, that means we're posting us in the high risk of getting basically deported. And some people, they have to lie in the forms, right? So I came back. I knew that I'm basically going to be leaving this business no matter what. I moved to California, and I reconnected with this couple that left the business team maybe 5-6 years ago. That you also know this couple, you know, very lovely people. They left because they have some personal issue with some people in the business that decided, you know what, they don't want to be around these people. They left, but we always stay in good terms because I know they're good people. Mm-hmm. I was never the kind of person that like, oh, they left the business, so like I would never talk to them again. Even though that was kind of the norm in this organization. You know, when you leave the business, when somebody leaves the business, everybody in the business team suddenly now they have to take a side. Yeah. Either they side with the business team and never talk to these people again, you know, or if they talk to these people that left the business, they'll be looked at very weird, like, oh, why would you ever talk to this person when they really left the business?
Unspoken agreement, yeah.
That's like the very deep in the culture, right?
Yep.
It's not like, you know, written anywhere, but everybody knows that's the way how it runs.
Because this person's branded as a quitter or whatever. Yeah.
Immediately somebody left, they'll be branded as a quitter, as loser, they can't handle the heat, or they have their personal life messed up so they couldn't do the business. There's always a way how it's branded. It was never like, hey, let's reflect and look at how we can change and be better so we can keep more good people in the business. It was never that case. But I was never really okay with that because I don't think that's how we should deal with people at all.
Yeah.
So I was kept in good terms with these people who left. That I know they're good people, but they have the reason why they need to leave, and I understand that. I have empathy for them. So I moved to California. We connected right away. They were like, "Oh my God, Hugh, you're here. Let's get together, have lunch, and let's chat." I met up with them and was very happy to see them. They got a baby expecting a couple. That was at that point. They were, I think she was like 6 or 7 months pregnant, right? So very happy to see them. And as we were chatting, the wife, she revealed to me another fact that solidified my decision. She told me that when she decided to leave the business and move to California to start her work, one of our business managers flew down to visit her, you know, thinking that maybe she can still convince this friend of ours to stay in the business, right? They had the chat. And then basically she told one of our business mentor, like, hey, you know, because she was working as a accountant in California, and she already started her basic green card process. And again, she found a lawyer to do the paperwork for her. And her immigration lawyer told him, like, look, you were engaged in network marketing when you were a student, and that's an issue for your green card because that's illegal, basically, straight up. Like, you know, you can't do that. So she told this story, and then she told this her situation, you know, to this business mentor of ours. Like, hey, look, like, I'm not sure if you know, but it is illegal actually for us to engage in the business. Like, we actually now have to deal with this because I'm applying for green card, and my lawyer told me that no, it's actually illegal. You're gonna have to basically figure out a way to deal with this now. And that was actually 5 to 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago, I think. And then this mentor of ours flew back, and she didn't say anything to any of us, even though she knew. But she basically deemed this as, oh, this is not important, or this is not worthwhile sharing, or this shouldn't be shared with the rest of the national business team members. And she basically hid it from all of us. I only find out because I happened to meet up with them, and she told me like, hey, Hugh, do you know, like, I told this person years ago that it was illegal? And I was like, I did not know. I just found out like a couple months ago. This is the second confirmation. And then there's a third confirmation. So after that, like, I knew like this is out of control. It's like at that point, I knew at some point I have to make a podcast to review this information, because I knew if I don't speak up, very likelihood there'll be another hundreds or potentially thousands of national students will get involved in network marketing, never knowing that they're putting themselves in a very, very risky situation. I have to do this. Not for me, even though I think it would be healthy for me to talk about this, to have a closure of why I left something that I built 12 years, putting the heart and sweat for this.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely it would be good for me to have a closure for this, but now it becomes my responsibility to get the information out.
Yeah.
I somehow have to do this. And this is the second time with review. So after that, I really decided, you know what, I'm gone. There's no way that I'm going to stay in this organization and continue to, be promoting this organization and this culture. So I call, our business mentor, say, hey, look, I'm leaving, and here's the reason. Because I found out now from 2 separate cases from immigration lawyers that very straight up that no, it is illegal. It has always been illegal for international students to engage in network marketing. And you need to know that because it affects all of us. Part of me was hoping that now I told him, maybe he would actually give the information to the rest of the team. Partially hoping that maybe he would do the right thing. Maybe he would. Then maybe I don't need to make the podcast. I was hoping that was the case. And I left. I didn't really talk to a whole lot of people. I talked to you when you came down to visit. I talked to a couple of people in our business team that, work very closely to me. Say, hey, I'm leaving. If you want to know, I'll be happy to tell you why. But if you don't want to, I'm not going to be forcing my stuff onto you. Because again, that was always the norm. As soon as you decide to leave, people becomes like, oh, they don't want to get around the negativity, quote unquote, right?
Yeah.
That you have. So basically for about a year, I didn't really talk to that many people. Maybe only a few people that, like, they are my real friends. They actually care, like, hey, Hugh, hey, how's it going? What's going on with your life? They used to talk to us, right?
Yeah.
And then, so here's when I realized that our business mentor did not reveal this information to anybody, because just about 2 or 3 months ago, 3 or 4 months ago, I got a call from this guy that I haven't talked to in a while, that's in the business team, right? And he called me out of nowhere. He's like, hey, Hugh, can you talk? He messaged me. He said, hey, Hugh, can you chat? Actually, this is kind of urgent. I was like, yeah, sure. I'm always going to talk to anybody, right? He said, yeah, sure. He basically called me and said, Hugh, you know what? We're going through our green card process, and our immigration lawyer denied to work with us because he realized that we have been building network marketing business when we were in our student visa. He just basically turned us down, that he wouldn't work with us. And he's like, Hugh, what do I do? And that's when I realized, you know what? Still, this guy that called me was one of, like, the biggest leader in our business team. And he still didn't know, and our manager did not tell him. I actually tried to tell him like a year ago. I actually gave him a call. I said, hey, man, at that point I already told him that I'm leaving. But I still want to give him a call because I saw him as a friend. I said, hey, just want to give you a call, see how you're doing. I think at that point he was like in some kind of event, like at a dinner or something like that. He said, hey, man, good to hear, but I'm at this event right now. Maybe we can try another time. I said, yeah, sure, man, let's try another time. But then we never connected again for like a year. And I don't want to push it. It's like, hey, maybe he just doesn't really want to talk about this, right? And it's okay with me. That's not a big deal. But then I always want to tell him about this information because it impacts them. and a lot of people in their business. So he called me 3 months ago, telling me that like now they have to deal with this because they just realized that, you know, this can of worms being open for them now. And again, nobody knew. So it again reconfirms my understanding of this organization that we've been part of is not what it claims to be, about helping people, about empowering people, which was what drawn you and I into the business in the first place, because we want to use this as a vehicle. Sure, we'll make money. Sure, we'll become successful. But our motivation has always been to help people. We do see it as a way to help people, to make some money on the side. You know, it doesn't have to be like rich, but I think, you know, we believe that making $2,000-$3,000 a month on the side can help a lot of people release a lot of stress, right? That has always been our goal. But then at that point I realized that this team and this culture is in its core, it's not about really helping people. It's about whatever creates the most amount of money. That's actually the core of the business. And everything started making sense. The kind of things that from the business perspective that was being done, it always did not make sense to me, but it has been done that way. You know, in business practice, for example, right? It has a very strong, you know, culture of promoting fake it until you make it mentality, right? It's always been taught like, oh, you know, fake it till you make it. Like, you know, you put on this image about, you know, you are learning how to become an entrepreneur. You're like on your way to become financial free. How successful you are. You're promoting your mentor, this person that have everything figured out. That they're gonna lead so many people, become successful, and create this amazing lifestyle. You know, it's become so fake that, you know, everybody is doing that, but it's not even true for a lot of cases. Like, how many times have the income been presented or like basically portrayed in a way like all these people that will come up to share, and they've been basically, you know, promoted as leader, they're making all the income, but in fact that we know they don't even barely make close that kind of income.
Yeah.
Like this mentor of us that retired and then, you know, quit her job and made this audio basically portraying herself as this business leader that make, you know, basically she's like letting people believe that she's making all this money, 6 figures at least, residual income from the business, and she's able to walk away. But in reality, for us to watch very closely, we knew that she was able to walk away because her spouse makes a great engineering income. And her residual that she built from the business was maybe about like 40, 50K. Top. I don't think her income was more than 70K coming from network marketing business if we don't count the income that's coming from selling the training system, right? Yeah. And it was never really disclosed openly how much income was actually generated from training systems, from selling the tools, conference tickets, audios, this app. This is like one of the biggest like ridiculous thing that I've ever seen being done in business. In 2018, they rolled out this app. It's basically a rip-off of WhatsApp, basically, that allow people to send messages, voice notes, videos that cost a couple $100 a year subscription. I remember that just blew my mind. We have a free version called WhatsApp and many, many other ones you use for free. That's encrypted, great products. But somehow the organization decided, you know what, we need every single person that, quote unquote, serious in business need to subscribe to this messaging app that costs a couple $100 a year. Yep. And when I questioned this to our business manager, they're like, oh yeah, you know, we make money from it, let's promote it. That was literally the reason behind it, like why people should get on it, because we make money. It becomes so clear to me that like greed was running very high priority in this organization, but not really looking out for the people. It becomes very ironic because we're talking about like, oh, you know, all this mentor, their goal is to train you how to manage your finance better, how to make more money. But then once you get involved, the first thing they promote to you, like, yeah, you need to buy into this training program that costs you a couple $100 to just get a website, and then get an app that allows you to send messages, and that costs a couple $100 a year.
Yeah, it adds up between all the events and the conferences and traveling and all the educational materials.
Yeah,
thousands and thousands of dollars a year.
So it becomes so clear to me that no, this is actually not the true nature, the values they actually promote. They value money a lot more than actually doing what's good for the people in the business. And for me, once I realize that, once I see clearly what this is about, it becomes very simple decision to make, because there's no amount of money I can make in the business, even though I make great money at that point. If I continue to build a business, I'll make serious money that, I can basically not have a job ever. But the thing is that there's no amount of money can justify me doing this to people. I just can't do it. And that's why I told the business mentor when I left, like, you know what, I do not feel good about bringing people into this business team anymore, because the things I'm seeing, because it does not align with the value that I have.
And what was
I would not
response?
be able to do that. And he just say like, oh yeah, he complimented me. He's like, Hugh, I'm glad that you have, like, you're sticking to your moral, to your like value. But he's like, oh, I see more good than bad. That's his point of view, and I disagree with that. I do not see more good and bad in this, in the last couple of years, or I see what come down, and how much of just like the fakeness being presented, and how much they just want to prioritize making money than actually caring for the people in the business. When people left the business team, how they were dealt with, I was not okay with that. It took me a long time to understand when Elliot was left, when it was kicked out of the business, who mentored us and done so much in leading the people, how he was handled. It just does not make sense to me, because there's no other organization. If you think about for so many years we talk about how corporate America is this like shitty place, right?
Yeah.
Where they like, they put you in the system, and then they like, they
don't care about you.
They don't care about you, and they push you out when there's no more value, and they don't care about people and why we're different, right? For how long that's like one of our talking points, that we're so different. We care about people.
Yeah.
But when it actually comes to people leaving the business team, if it's not like, hey, I know that you're leaving, but to let you know that we still care and love you, and we're here to support you. If you need to talk, let us know. Come visit us. Hey, let's chat. How can we do better? There's none of those. It was like, oh, if you're leaving, great, we'll never talk to you again, and that's it, and don't pass negativity to the business, and just quietly go away.
Yeah.
That was basically the norm, and I'm actually regretting that I bought into that and done that to a couple of people, I think myself, without even realizing that was like, I really have that kind of like affecting me, how I deal with people.
Yeah, and if it can be done to somebody like Elliot, who is such a lover and a giver and a server of people, to just feel like really he was kicked when he was down. He was struggling, he was down, he was falling apart, and they didn't do anything about it until he broke a rule, and then they just kicked him out and said, don't talk to him. And, a few years later, he took his own life, and it was very hard to see that play out.
That's why I think we need to make the podcast. That's why I want to make a podcast, because I think it's important that people need to know some of the information that now that I came to realize. And I think people need to make their own decisions. I think for a lot of people, maybe they don't have international student in the business. They can run the business the way that's very clean and honest, and that's great. I think there's still a lot of value for people to build business like this to create extra income and, to do what they gotta do. But for people who are seeing some funny stuff, or start recognizing some, issue with integrity, or people misleading, or just not being genuine, or they are basically telling the national student that it's okay to build a business, they need to know this information, because I'm not okay with just walk away and not at least review that information to people.
Yeah, to stand up and question, hey, that's not okay, or why are things being done this way, or I'm not okay with things being done this way, and not treating their business mentors as if they're revered. Their word is, gold. So you're not afraid to put this information out there and to speak out about this?
No, the thing is that I don't want to basically, it's not targeting any specific person. That's why I don't really mention any names there, because I don't think, in a way, it's that's why also I chose to leave, but now instead of trying to like actually, really sit on to like to have all this conversation with every single person, because I think very deep down, a lot of people in the business team, it's not like they're consciously choosing to do this stuff to try to like mislead or try to, lie to people in a sense. I think it's actually you getting involved in the system, and it's slowly shifting you to become like this, because faking it is kind of the norm in the organization. You're kind of expected to do that, because remember, in our business, when you hit a certain level in the business, you're parade as the person at that level forever, basically.
Yeah.
Right? If it's never being like genuinely like, hey, you know what, this year you qualify, for example, emerald level, we are glad for you, clap for you, and next year you're back down to, let's say, 3 levels down to platinum, and now you only make, let's say, 30K in business, and we'll also basically now talk about you as a person that as a platinum level. It was never like that.
No.
It was like you qualify emerald once, doesn't matter how you get there or how far your business fall behind
How many
the
bridges
next
you
year.
burn.
You always be parade as an emerald forever, and you always be put on the pedestal and the leadership position to be basically promoted as that person. So I think in a way, the system kind of created this culture where it's pushing you to become like that. It's pushing you to be like, oh, you know, you now have to kind of fake it now, because everybody talk about you as if you are still at that business level and you're supposed to lead, and now you have to supposed to share and talk about you and your lifestyle and your achievement as if you're still there, even though you are now very far from it. So in a way, I want to put information on, because it's not about like actually, you know, this one person did this or this person did that. It's not like that. It's more of like culturally, it's actually very deep in its core. Where I think a lot of people we just talked about, I think they are also in a way, they are also put in that position.
Yeah.
To basically to be forced to like actually become part of it, of this like this gigantic system that's, you know, consistently doing the stuff that we just talked about.
And then eventually they're so far in where they leave their job and they're stuck. They see things that they don't agree with that aren't okay, but they're stuck, because if they do anything about it, they're going to go back to having a job.
Yeah, that could be a reason. And it's just very hard to turn this ship around when, because the thing about it is, how do you deal with a situation where it's been decades being this way, being broken for decades, and you got involved without even knowing that like this is actually been this way. For example, the whole international student situation, there's no good answer to this. There's no solution to this actually. Like, what can you actually do? You cannot fix this. It's not something that you can actually fix.
Yeah.
It's been done. The damage has been done. The harm's already there. All of us that basically have this now hanging above our head, there's nothing they can actually do to fix it. But all I can see that I can do is simply put the truth out. That's all I can really do. I can't really fix it for anybody. But at least what I know I can do, or I have to do, is at least these people need to know what's real and what's the facts, and they can choose what they want to do next. But I guess for people who want to continue to grow and be prosperous and continue to have all the respect and have all the credibility in the business, I guess it's very hard for them to choose now to tell the truth, is it? If they choose to tell the truth, that means that now they're destroying their own credibility.
And their own income.
Sure.
Any other reasons you left?
At the end of it, I just found that the entire thing to be just very morally and intellectually repulsive. I mean, the moral aspect we already talk about. You know, I just don't feel good about misleading people if I know what's real and what's a fact, or like trying to put out this like fake image of how successful I am and how awesome I am, how I got my whole life figured out, and let me coach you, because that's not true. Nobody have their life figured out. This whole thing about like, oh, now this image they put together, like, oh, I'm this uber successful, independent business coach and mentor that's like financially free. I got my whole life figured out. Now let me mentor you. I think this whole thing is not accurate. Because I think the more now I realize about life is nobody had the life figured out. In their 20s and 30s, are you kidding me? Everybody had their own problems to deal with. Nobody's in a position to be like, oh, let me coach you in all aspects. Especially when they have so much of the self-interest. in getting people to buy into the training program, which is cost a couple $100 a month, and that's how they make money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at least big part of it is how to make money is by selling a training program. And I don't see a ton of value, to be honest. Just like I don't see a ton of value in the training program. The books that we read that's promoted, yes, there's some good books, but after a while, some of the books just like literally I would not read. It's just bad written books, just repeating itself, right?
Same information over and over again.
Yeah, it's like maybe some sales guy that make $100,000 now he wrote a book, right? And we will sell it because it makes money, right? We don't really care about like the quality of the book. Like I would not waste my time to read some of the books nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So just some of the things I see, just like it's morally, intellectually repulsive. It's like this fake image you're trying to put on. No, I'm not okay with that. I cannot see myself continue doing this. And act like this is the only option out there to live an amazing life. I don't even agree with that. Because for the culture of the business, like it's like promoting the network marketing business, and the training system is like this is like the best thing you can do. You can get since a slice of bread, this is like the best thing you can get, right? This is just not true. Like you and I know that like the amazing thing about the world that we live in today, about what the things that we have access to now and the things we can do with technology and with what's capable, we're capable now with all the stuff that's happening like podcasts, YouTube, all the things. People have a ton of options to be genuine, to be exploring what they are good at and what they love, and become very successful doing that. They don't have to make $1 million to be happy. They don't have to make $100,000 to be happy. They can just do what they like and they enjoy, and create, a life that they want without being involved in a marketing business.
Yeah.
This is definitely not the only option.
And happiness is so much more than money.
Yeah. So I don't really like the way how this is being done now, and just a lot of things being taught in our marketing. It just I do not agree at all.
So what has life been like on the other side since walking away? And
it's been quite amazing. I mean, as you already know, I spent almost 3 months traveling in 2018. I hit about 10 countries in Europe, and then Japan, and then Asia, China. I was all over the world because that's what I love to do. Is I want to travel. I want to be around people and experience what life is like, living all different places. I spent a lot of time with my family, which is fantastic. I spent so much time with my family in Europe, in Netherlands. Spent more time than I ever did with my grandparents. And then last year, ever after this, since I went to Europe, I came back and I've been traveling nonstop. I was in Cambodia last year, and I was in Japan like 2 or 3 times. I've been to like France now. I've been to France like 7 times. I've been to Paris like 7 or 8 times now, and it's been amazing. And here's what I realized: you don't have to be a freaking multimillionaire to do all this stuff. You don't. If you actually really know like how much actually it costs, it's not that much. You can have a normal job income and do all this stuff, but you just have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone and actually go pursue the things that you dream about. And you realize, no, like there's like literally the universe will work its way to help you to achieve your goals if you just put your heart into it. Like when I was traveling Europe, like honestly, the way how I travel now is that I only plan about a week ahead. That means I go to a place. I go to Paris for the World Cup finals 2018, which was freaking amazing. So the best place to watch the World Cup was in Paris when they were in the finals. I was in Paris for a week, and then when I was in Paris, I planned on my next week, which was basically taking a share ride down to southern France, to Avignon and to Marseille. And on the way there, I was on a ride with this guy who basically did this. It's like an app called BlaBlaCar. They basically allow you to car share for long distance, right? On the way down there, he was the one that basically drive me from Paris to Lyon, which is like the food capital of France. And we just had a really great conversation for like 4 or 5 hours straight. He's like, yeah, Hugh, I really enjoyed talking to you. Like, where do you go next after I dropped you off in Lyon? I was like, yeah, I was going to Annecy, which is a Switzerland border, and then go to basically Switzerland to Geneva, check out Switzerland, and then go check out the French Alps and spend a week there. And now go to southern France, to Avignon and Marseille. He's like, oh, I live in Avignon. Well, not far from it. He's like, where do you stay? I was like, oh, I'm staying like this Airbnb I just booked. He's like, oh, no, cancel that. Come stay with me. So I actually went down there. He picked me up at this wine shop. I actually bought a bunch of wine for him as a gift, of course. And him and his wife and his kids took me all around southern France for like a week and a half. I stayed his guest home in this rural area by all the vineyards in southern France, which is freaking beautiful. And he basically took me out every single day, drive me around southern France, show me around, and cook for me for the entire week.
Wow. For free.
I mean, yeah, I bought him like 2 full cases of wine to thank him. But now he doesn't want any compensation because he just enjoy. We just like chat and we just drink wine every day, lunch and dinner, and we just chat at night like we're chatting right now. Just like sit outside. He had this like really nicely decorated like backyard. We just like chat about life. He want to hear about my perspective as somebody that spent half my life in China, half of my life in America. He want to know my perspective about life and some stuff what I think about. And we just have a conversation every single night, drinking and have a lot of fun. And there's only 1 week out of the 3 months I did. You just meet people. Like I didn't plan any of this stuff. I just kept an open mind. I just know that I love traveling, learning new culture, learning people's life, and things like that just happen. Another example, after I finished with southern France, I was going from Nice to starting my trip to Italy, to Milan, right? Again, I was in this car share ride with this French couple, and then there's another guy on the backseat with me. This guy grew up in Milan, I think. He was working or traveling in France. So we ended up in the same car ride from Nice to Milan for like a couple hours, and we just hit it off. We just have a great chat. He told me about his story about how his dad grew up on the beach of Italy, which I mean the whole country is like coast, right? And then we just hit it off. He's like, Hugh, like where are you going after Milan? It's like, oh, I'm planning to go spend a couple of days in Milan and go down to Rome, and then go down to Naples and go to see Pompeii. He said, no, don't go to Rome right now. He's like, nobody's in Rome. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, this is May-August. All the Italians in Rome or the Romans are gone. They're all on vacation. Apparently Italians, they all took off their vacations in August. When everybody else like pouring to Italy to travel, they're also traveling. So literally no restaurants open. Everything is closed. Every restaurant that I want to go to in Rome is closed. Every one of them is closed. He said, no, don't go to Rome at the time. He said, you know what? Me and my friend, his name's Oliver. He's like, me and my friend Diego, we're going down to southern Italy. We're going to take a car ride down the coast to the bottom of Italy, and we're going to go attend a music festival. He said, Hugh, you should come with us. I was like, heck yeah. I'll cancel my Airbnb. I'll go with you. So I spent a week in Milan, and then I took a train down to, Salerno, which is like the starting point of southern Italy off Amalfi Coast. We meet out there, we'll grab dinner, met his friend Diego, and 3 of us, we packed everything in his Jeep, and we drove down the coast all the way down to this little tiny town in the bottom of Italy, this fish village. We just stop by every small fish village and eat genuine Italian food. This restaurant doesn't even have a menu. We would sit down and he would speak some Italian, order a bunch of fish, and we just eat it. And Italian food is so freaking amazing. I love Italian food. It's like the best. It's like the best. And we just spent a week together driving down in the coastline of Italy. We camped out by the beach where the music festival is. We camped literally about 1 minute walk to the beach in the woods. And we'll basically go hang on the beach every single day for like 3-4 days in a row. And at night we'll go to the music concerts. And that was a blast. And none of this was planned. And I met so many people on these trips. And then went to Japan after Europe and see my family. And then came back and went to Hawaii twice last year.
None of this costs a lot of money.
It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it costs some money. But it's not like you have to be like a freaking like millionaire or anything to do that. You just have to... Because like I don't really need to stay in a 5-star hotel. That's not my purpose.
Yeah.
I don't need to eat a 5-course meal. That's not my purpose. I just stay in like an average Airbnb, nice place. Because partially for me, it's like I want to actually experience like real living in the cities. What's better than living in somebody's home that actually live there?
Yeah.
Let me experience culture, right? It doesn't cost a ton of money. Like I can actually do that without any business income. I can just do that with my job income, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like my life perspective now is that go do what makes you happy deep down, that you want to do. And it's not like, delayed gratification has a lot of value. I agree with that for sure, 100%. But there is a balance there. You should delay some stuff. Like there's a good, principle in general, right? But it's not like delay your dream forever until like you get to X, Y, and Z. Then you go, start living your dream life. It's like certain things you can do without have to be like, like starve yourself. Like not like a physical, but mentally starve yourself and then go to achieve something. No, you can actually go live the way that you want. You just take some courage to do something like this, and just take some, getting out of your comfort zone. Maybe not comfortable for a lot of people. But for me, it was like that was like. So it doesn't really take much for me because I know exactly what I want to do already. It was just so simple for me because see when you're doing things that you really love, it's not much work at all. It doesn't seem hard at all.
No.
It might seem hard for a lot of people. For me, it's like it doesn't seem hard at all. It just comes so naturally to me because I'm doing that.
Even your job, you like your job.
Yeah, like you can do something that you really like as a job. It's totally possible, right? This whole philosophy of like, job sucks. Quit your job and be financially free. That's always been the norm, right? This kind of a philosophy that's pushing in our marketing business because that's what they want you to do is build your business, right? But that's also not true in my view. You can have a really good relationship with the people that you work with in your job and a good relation with your work. Mm-hmm. And you should do it well too. Mm-hmm. I remember this is actually another thing is that I just remember this being taught by so many people that they were basically like they will laugh about like how they slack off in their work and like how little they do for their work, how they leave early and basically got paid and they build their business at work and they pride themselves for doing that. And it was like something that they laugh and talk about like, I was building my business at my work and how little I put into my work. It always feels very weird to me because like if somebody pay me to be there and do their work, I'll make sure I do it well.
How I do one thing is how I do everything.
Yeah. So there's many things that I just don't, now I think about very clearly, I totally do not agree with what they teach. And I realize that the reason why I teach all this stuff because it benefits business. It makes you to like focus and just build your business. Don't balance out your life. Don't worry about like, your life's not on balance or you're not like accelerating in your school. You're not doing super well in your job or you're not like taking care of all your relationship with your relatives and family. Don't worry about that. Just focus on your business and you solve everything down the road. This mentality I think is very dangerous actually. Remember that one. You got to understand here's the thing. For many, many people in the network marketing business, for many, many people, they will never retire. They will never have financial freedom just because the business income is numbers. Maybe about, I don't know, I don't even know percentage, maybe like 5, maybe 10% if we were very generous. People, maybe they work this business for like 10, 20 years, maybe they'll get to a point they can actually become financially independent to the business. Just look at the people that we ever know, right? How many people now that's actually, retire now, quit their job because of business income that we know? How many, we've been there for like, 12 years, 13 years now? How many people that you know? 2 couple? 3 people?
Yeah, a handful.
3 human beings, right? 4 maybe? 5? That's out of thousands and thousands that we see now. So like this cannot be a generic advice for everyone. They're like, delay everything. Don't worry about life not being balanced. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just build your business. That cannot be the generic advice for everyone.
Don't worry about being happy. You'll be happy when you get free. I realize now, if I'm not happy
if you're not happy right now, you never figure out how to be happy.
And I'll never be happy when I make a money or hit a certain level in business. And I feel like that's a mentality that's taught is, go hit that level in business, go make that income, and then you can be happy, and then you'll be happy. And so I gave up all, just like you're talking about, I gave up the things that I made me happy, and so I was really unhappy. And thinking, I have to hit that level in order to be happy.
And the thing is that the people that were supposed to coach you, they never really actually come close to call you out and say, hey, Paul, You need to fix this other areas of your life and be happy. Instead of like just like doing the motions and building your business.
Yeah.
Nobody really tell you that.
Yeah.
Because they never really got that close to kind of actually help you analyze or give you that advice. Because like the nature is like you cannot mentor that many people physically. It's just not possible. You
Yeah.
cannot get to know every single person that well to give that good offer advice. It's just not really built into, this business model. So it's not really correct to say that, yeah, we're going to mentor all these people. We're going to give them all this advice. It's just not there. You have to figure out yourself how to be happy now. Not like when I'm rich or when I'm financially free. No, you need to be happy now. You need to figure out how to find your happiness inside, not for like the outwards or from other people. It's a self-discovery process. That's why like both you and me, a lot of people that I know got into meditation and yoga, because those exercises, actually I started meditating when I was in Europe, when I was traveling. My first time meditating was when I was traveling in Europe. A friend of mine reached out to me. Somehow he sensed that I was like struggling in a way, mentally. He reached out and said, Hugh, you know what? I felt like you are going through some stuff. And then we chatted, and he basically recommended, you know what, Hugh, you should really pick up meditation. And I did. And he helped me realize a lot of answers that we seek is not coming from like mentors or coming from people who seem authoritative, telling you what is success or what is happiness or how you should live your life or what to be excited about or what to be outrageous about. It's not about seeking those answers from the outside. It's actually looking inwards and understanding yourself, of everything about yourself, your desires, your happiness, what makes you happy, what makes you excited, what makes you feel passionate, what makes you feel sad. It's like going inside and discover all those things. It's not from somebody else telling you those. For us, a lot of times what I see is that people looking for those answers in our network marketing business, they look for those answers from an authoritative figure.
They're afraid, or they don't want to think for themselves. They want to feel like they're being protected. And
because in a way, it is easier to choose that route, to have somebody else give you answers, to feed you those answers, to give you, the answer to what is happiness or what is success, what is like considered to be accomplished, what is considered a good lifestyle. I don't think there's no answer to those questions because every single person have a different answer for themselves. This is why I'm very, very now cautious when somebody seem authoritative, trying to tell people, how to live or how to define success or what is good or what people should pursue and what they should be outrageous about. I'm very cautious now to people who are saying those stuff because nobody should be defining this for other people. People to define it for themselves. And that's the issue of, I see in the network marketing where they have this stage, they promoted all the people who are on the stage to be the mentors and leaders. And they're trying to push out this narrative like, oh, here's what success looks like. And here's what success should be. And here's what you should do to achieve success. But no, your definition of success is not going to apply to every single person. What we really should be teaching people and encouraging people is critical thinking. It's reflective. It's going inside and ask yourself tough questions. To really go deep and ask yourself those really tough questions like, why am I unhappy? Why am I eating unhealthy? Why am I experiencing so much stress? Why am I like just not feeling motivated to go to work? Why I'm not motivated to build my business? All those questions should be encouraged to look inwards and find answers to yourself.
Yep.
A lot of those have to do with how we grew up, with our baggages or our environments, what we learn, right? There's no easy way to actually address those things, but go through a tough, rough process of like self-reflection. Looking for the answer from an authoritative figure is actually an easy way out, and it's very dangerous because that means you never really get an answer for yourself.
Yep. So knowing what you know now, is it hard looking back and thinking, wow, this is how I used to think?
Oh yeah, I thought I was an idiot a couple of years ago, right? And that's like this is how humans are though. Like when we look back, not even like that long, like just a couple of years ago, we look at like ourselves, like, a year ago, 2 years ago, like, oh my God, the dumb things that we did, right?
Right.
It happens every stage. I'm sure like a couple years from now, I will look back today, it's like, oh wow, like, that's a problem, or that is not correct.
What was I thinking?
We're always going to be correcting ourselves and, look for ways to improve and be better.
But in this instance, it was a huge shift.
Absolutely. In this scenario, that's like one big pivot in life. And I'm very glad that I made that decision, because for me, it's definitely helped me correct and start understanding what is true and what is real and what is actually good for me personally. We're not doing this to like actually tell people what to do. We're talking about like our story, our path, and what help us to be in a position right now, or in a path where we find happiness, where we feel really, really good, and we are actually feeling really prosperous. That we actually there's not much regrets now. I'm thinking about like actually the way how I live, there's not much regrets I can have now.
Yeah. It's a tough shift what you made though. I mean, you gave up. Like I said,
12 years of
12 years, this was all you were going to do. You sure burned some bridges. You did a lot of things and worked you put so much blood, sweat, and tears, gave up sleep, invested so much time and money, and, built your dreams around this is what I'm going to accomplish, and then let it all go.
Yeah. I think the toughest part of leaving the business team was the people. I think that's probably the toughest part. I think like money is like whatever, it's not a big deal. Business, that's fine. I have a lot of time to create income. And again, income is not that important anymore. If you understand how to live happily, money becomes such a low important thing, because you and I can be very happy sitting right now in Nevada, nowhere. Yeah. It doesn't cost much money, right? We can be very happy.
I heard recently wealth is much more than just money. Like that's
Absolutely.
Just one aspect of wealth.
Yeah. I think the tough part for me to drop, to give everything that I built for 12 years, was the relationships, right? Because I have a lot of great friends, people that, that we care about, that I care about. Leaving the business, I know that because leaving the business team means that I'm actually going to be saying basically, bye to a lot of these people. Because again, I understand the culture of how they're going to act when I decide to leave. A lot of them will decide to like, oh, yeah, that means, we won't be talking to Hugh again. Even though that like they might be also confused, like, oh, why should I not talk to Hugh, right? Some of them probably confused, but they will probably still do that, because just like how we did it a couple of times, when people leave our business team, we feel like, oh, like, okay, I guess I can't talk to this person. That was the toughest part, because the relationships. But then also it has to be done because I understand, what is true is true. My values is not going to be jeopardized, be put on a price tag, no matter how much I gain from the business. There's no way that I can continue to promote knowing that a lot is just not real and basically misleading people.
Well, it's like when you said that your business mentor said, that he still sees more good than bad. It's almost as, based on what you just said, it's almost as if he's saying, it's not that he sees less bad than you, it's that he sees that making money and keeping his lifestyle is worth it more than all the bad. Does that make sense?
Or maybe they just think that, like, again, the case of being gray, maybe they still see that as a gray, like, oh, nobody that we knew personally actually got kicked out of the country, deported because situation with the visa and doing the business. They might still consider it as a gray area, but I don't see it as a gray area.
Right and wrong is pretty clear, whether it's
for me,
know if something's right and if I feel good about it. Do I feel good about this? No, I don't. Not getting caught is not a reason to do something.
No. There are always going to be people that they would choose they would not lie about it. If they want to come to a point, they actually have to apply for the green card or citizenship. They're like, I cannot lie about this. And they choose to do that. That means their entire application, their status in the U.S. will be jeopardized.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen at some point. And I'm not going to be around to enabling that to be happening. So it has to be done. Even though it means I have to give out everything that I built to that point and to give out a lot of relationships that I built, even that means that I am willing to swallow the results. I mean, the consequence.
So did you leave and go down how you thought it would go?
Kind of how I expect it would go, because we know how the culture and system works, right? So I kind of know, and I also know that there will be people like yourself that, don't see people as just like commodities or numbers or like a mean to an end. That we see relationships like genuine relationships. We actually value very genuine relationships. So you and a couple other people I knew, it's not me leaving or not would not be hurting our relationship, because I knew there were people who are like me that like, good relationships not gonna be depends on like what we choose to do with our business or our lives, right?
Before you left the business team, what was the picture of how it was painted? Like if you were to leave, like you would have to get a job and life is gonna suck. Like what did you think?
No. See, like, that's why I took 3 months to travel, to think, to just get away and think, to understand, what I'm going to do after I leave the business team. And what I realized is like, no, it's not going to be easy, especially initially, because you now suddenly pull away from all the relationship. I moved to California. I don't know anybody there, maybe like a few people. I have to rebuild my network, and I need to meet some people from the scratch, right? Rebuild my life from the scratch. But for me, that's just like a small challenge, a situation I have to deal with. But certainly is not enough for me to like just to stay just because I'm afraid to do that. I knew I had to rebuild my life again, which is not a big deal. Like, see, like I came to the States when I was 16. I already had learned how to live on my own in a foreign country by myself since I was 16 years old. So for me, actually thinking about rebuilding this actually was not that big a deal. Like me moving to California was like 1 week. I came back to Chicago. Within a week, I left and moved to California. And soon after that, I got started working again. And we started traveling like crazy, twice in Hawaii, Japan a couple of times. Went back to Paris a few times. So it's like, no, actually everything just works out. And like, again, like I was never afraid to work things out, because I understand if I just approach everything with a good attitude, and I know I have a very strong work ethic. I knew that about myself. That's very clear to me. Like I'm willing to work very hard. So it was never an issue to rebuild everything from ground up. It was like never a problem, because it just means, it's got to figure things out.
Maybe not everybody's as strong as you. They think they're in it and they think, you know what, I don't know if I can do this again, or at least here it's not great, but at least I have something,
Yeah, I guess I'm really
like
used
being in an abusive relationship. It's not great, but at least I have somebody.
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Yeah, it's not easy decision to make for people who haven't done this before. I guess it's not as difficult for me because I've done that a couple times. I've moved from China to be in the U.S. across the ocean when I was 16. I moved from that to go to college in Wisconsin Madison. I never even visited campus before. Graduate, moved to Chicago, start working there. Like moving around certain life again is never really like a hard thing for me. I'm willing to talk to people and rebuild networks. It's not a big deal, and I'm actually kind of got really good at doing that. So it was not a hard decision for me. But I can see that for some people, maybe they kind of grew up in one place, lived their life in one place. That seems like a very, very scary, like, unknown, like, oh my God, how do I move to a different city and start my life? Like, how do I do that? It can seem very scary if people haven't done that before. But that's like more like a fear of unknown.
A lot of people who walk away, I've heard this from some people, and I've experienced it, and I've noticed it in others. There's like this feeling of like that they're a quitter, or that they weren't good enough, or that they feel shamed. Is that something that you experienced?
No, I didn't leave because I couldn't build a business, right? I didn't leave because it's not like, oh, the business get too hard, or like I'm too weak to build a business. I left based on very logical decisions. After I fully evaluated the facts and fully understand who I am and what I value, is extremely logical and thought through decision that I made. It's not like, oh, I'm too weak to leave. I'm too weak and I couldn't build a business, so I left. That's definitely not the reason. Like, I could stay and build a massive business, but no, that's not the route I want to choose.
I gotcha.
So for me, it's like a very logical decision to leave, actually.
So what advice do you give to people who are still?
I don't give advice.
No.
I just, well, I guess my thinking, my thoughts are people should be always think critically for themselves. Here's the thing. You should never give your free thinking away to somebody else. Not because, because you feel really emotionally attached, because you really respect them, because you really like them, because you really, admire them, or they really respect you. None of those are good enough reason for you to give away free thinking and critical thinking. When that happens, that's when you are getting to a very dangerous zone because you can't think for yourself anymore. And no matter who it is, people will always have their own selfish agenda. When people give advice to anybody, when anybody is giving advice to you, usually there's always a self-motivated agenda there. So you gotta be able to think for yourself first. That's the most important thing. You gotta be able to think for yourself. Like, what's the right thing for you? And what's the best thing for you? And what brings you happiness? Again, you should not be looking for that answer for somebody else. Doesn't matter how authoritative they seem, how passionately they speak, how many people are adoring this person, or how many people are surrounding this person and want to take a picture of this person. None of those are good enough reason for you to give away critical thinking and let somebody else think for you and make decisions for you. You have to make decisions for yourself and think for yourself. I think that's a very critical path for me to become happy and to live very independently and understanding what I need and what is good for me. The moment you give that up and hand it to somebody else, and that's the beginning of, I think, a very stressful and very problematic lifestyle, because now if you don't think for yourself, nobody will think really 100% for you. They can't. It's not about they have bad intentions either. They just can't do it for you. It's not possible. They don't know everything about you to help you make decisions for yourself. You have to do it for yourself. That's the biggest thing I want to say to anybody, really. If anybody asks me, that's the only thing I would tell them is always think critically for yourself.
I was just reading in a book, a really good book, called The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and he talks about how people really want to belong. It's like why we have sports teams, why we go to concerts. We want to be a part of something. We want to belong. And I think a lot of people, including myself, get in that space where I felt stuck because I want to belong to this community. I want to be a part of this community. And the thought of walking away is so scary, even if it feels like it's the right thing to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We're social, humans, we're people, we're social beings. We long to belong somewhere. We want to be part of a community. Those are all totally make sense. We want to be loved, we want to be cared for, and want to give, right, to other people. Which again is why we were attracted to network marketing business in the first place. Because we saw a community that's seems like they're very loving, they're very caring, and we can use as a platform to bring in people and help them and care for them, right?
Yeah.
So that's totally makes sense. There's nothing wrong to have that, but you need to understand what you're giving up to get this.
Yes.
You can still have all of that and have a very reasonable community. You can create that without basically giving up critical thinking or giving up living the life that you want to get this.
Yes.
I think some people, they, especially when they don't have the support from their family or from their friends when they're growing up, they probably are very desperate for that kind of community or kind of support. Yeah, for them then, some people might do anything, everything, just to get that.
They're willing to pretend and fake it just because they want it.
But then the danger is they need to realize if you're depending on that to feed you, to find happiness, then I don't think that's going to lead to truly happiness.
Oh.
Because you're depending on something else outside to bring you happiness. It's not from inward.
Yeah. It's an exchange. It's okay, you want your happiness, fine. You want to feel that sense of belonging, you want access to my community, fine. Well, then you better create your volume and you better do some work. Otherwise, you can't be here. That's the mentality. And that's where people can be controlled. I have what you want. You better do what I want if you want it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's where I was stuck. I wanted that community because it was what gave me my safety. Those friendships, the belonging, the feeling superior because I got to say I was an entrepreneur, right? The skills, the opportunity to speak in front of people, being a big pin, I got to feel like I was a big deal. But in order to do that, I had to, attend the events, and I had to spend money on the different tools and go to the conferences, and I had to pretend that this is what I wanted to do, when for the last few years I really didn't. So I think people get stuck, and even though they may agree with you, although they may not be for the international student issue like you said, there's other things that they might see that they don't agree with, or that their passion isn't for it, but they're too afraid to step away.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to give up something that you really, really desire, right?
Yeah.
That's why I suggest that people need to understand how to look for their own happiness inside.
Yep.
Because it doesn't matter what it is, either community or money or power or the sense of like feeling like a celebrity, that people like you get all the attention, like all the people on social media, right? They're so drawn to like how many likes they get, how many followers they get. It's the same thing. Is that you are basically putting the most important thing, you are basically depending that on something that's like coming from the outside, that's temporary, and that's not really deep rooted into like what you really value and who you are. I think finding the happiness and really putting that anchor on something that's internal, that you don't have to like seek it outside, that's like a long journey to discover that. I think that has more value than anything else, because you realize like all the other things, just like like temporary things, a facade, is never really about truly happiness. Maybe being with like your loved ones and just caring for them, or like for me it's like spend a lot of time to just basically immerse myself in different culture, around different people, and spend a lot of time with family. For me that's like so much happiness there. Like me spending my time with my grandparents in Netherlands for the almost like half the summer, that was like just pure happiness. Like I realized in that summer when I was traveling Europe, I realized that I didn't spend that much time with my grandparents for the past 10 years, because again I was so busy in the name of building my business, I neglected a lot of those family time that I cannot get back. But I'm so grateful, and I feel very fortunate that it was not too late for me to make the decision. I spent 2 summers basically with my grandparents. One summer and one I think spring. I went visiting them again in China and spent like another week and a half with them. Like taking a walk with my grandpa who has Alzheimer, and just like seeing him and actually being around him for X amount of days. That was like those stuff, there's nothing even come close to the happiness it brings me. But it took me a long time to discover like what's truly important, and that kind of stuff that cannot be delayed. So people need to find out that for themselves. What is those things is for them is truly important and bringing enormous amount of happiness. And usually they have got nothing to do with anything else. It's the very basic, simple things.
Yeah. I can say in my few months since I've taken a step away from network marketing, I have never been happier. I've never loved myself more, loved my life, been prouder than myself, doing more things that I enjoy. I'm truly living my dream life, and I was so afraid to walk away. I was so afraid to accept the fact that I was stuck because I wanted the sense of belonging, that when I finally did it and stepped away, I've never been happier, and I have created this amazing life. So my words is anybody who's afraid of that, who's stuck like I was, is happiness is right around the corner. Don't let somebody hold it hostage for you. And that's what I was doing, because I always built my business from a position of weakness, where I was unhappy and I wanted the business to make me happy. But then they said, well, no, you don't get to be happy until you go make a lot of money. And I never did, because I was lazy. So I was stuck. And I know exactly what you're talking about.
Dude, self-reflection is one of the most amazing thing.
Yeah.
Like that time that you take for yourself just to think and reflect. Definitely meditation.
Yeah.
All those things helps to really like understand yourself more.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very important key that I found for myself to, live a life that brings a lot of happiness and fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah, in 2017 I got cancer, and I could have died from it. I could have had chemo or whatever, and
Yeah, I remember that.
I just remember when that happened, when the doctor called me to tell me, I was just in shock.
Yeah, on your balls, right?
What?
I'm just
Oh,
messing
yes.
with you.
Testicular cancer, yes.
Just teasing you, bro.
Yes, real men only have one ball, if you want. One real one, at least. And I just remember thinking, if I were to die today, I would not die happy, because I have not built a life that I love, and I don't love myself or any of that at that moment. And I've just made this shift, and I just slowly kept putting business back further and further on my priority list because it wasn't making me happy. And I said self-care and loving myself has to be my highest priority. And I realized in that environment, that's not what they're about. And doing what I'm doing, which is making my happiness number one, means that I'm just, I was pushed to the side. I was just like some guy who was still there that everybody liked but wasn't doing anything, so nobody really talked to. And it got weirder and weirder because nobody knew what I was doing. And then I just said, I don't care. I'm going to keep living my life. Although I was too afraid to walk away. I moved to Denver, got my dream remote job, and now I'm living my nomad life, traveling the world, running a podcast, building a school in Guatemala, doing all the things that I love to do.
Dude, I'm really excited for your nonprofit org to build a school in Guatemala. I think that's very amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I actually always thought about, this is actually one of the dream of mine as well too, is to actually build a school in China to start with and build a school in other places.
Well, the charity that I do it through, Build On, they only do it in the poorest countries.
Yeah,
so
I know.
The only one in Asia that they work with is Nepal.
I'm really happy you're doing that, man. I think
Thank you.
You're making a
It's
very big
interesting.
difference there.
No, none of our former mentors have given me any money. And I feel like there's this mentality that I don't know if they would, because it's not money towards what they're creating. And it's very sad, because it's a noble cause.
Look at the stars, man. It's fucking amazing. Look at the
Unbelievable.
sky.
The moon is like quarter crescent, I was saying earlier, and yet it's like a full moon because it's so bright. I bet a full moon here, it's gonna be like daytime.
Yeah. Dude, like with no pollution, with no lights.
Yeah.
This is like such amazing.
Isn't
sky.
it amazing? So living life without feeling like you have to ask permission. I remember so often thinking I had to ask permission to move to Denver. Or when I went to the Amazon to do ayahuasca retreats, I felt like I was going against, because I didn't ask permission. I just did it. I know so many people.
Or imagine
now,
going to Hawaii before you're diamond.
Yeah. Or even now, I know so many people in the business team who have to feel. It seems like they feel they have to ask permission to go on a trip, or I don't know. It seems so weird. I love that I can just live a life that I love, and I'm so happy on this other side. And I felt, oh my gosh, I'm so irresponsible now, and I'm a quitter. And then I just stepped back and said, if something is not vibing with me, stepping away from it is like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like being in a relationship and I'm holding on to it just because I don't want to be alone. That was what it was like for me. I was holding on to a relationship that was already over, that they didn't care for me anymore.
Like, I think, trusting your gut feeling and do what feels right in your gut is it's pretty much a very true statement.
Yeah.
From the book that we both read, right, Blink, by Malcolm Gladwell, it's basically what it's saying is that, what you consider as like a gut feeling is not like some random thing that you felt. It's actually by, your subconscious running through enormous amount of your past experience and data that you collected, but you now really process through your conscious mind to basically give you the signal to let you know that like this is probably the right decision to make based on a ton of data, not just some random decision.
Yeah.
So the gut feeling is actually not like a random thing that you felt. It's actually in a lot of scenarios, it's actually quite logical decision to make, because our conscious mind don't understand, subconsciously, it actually process through a lot of data and experience to come to that conclusion.
Yeah.
So trusting your gut and do what you feel really right, a lot of times turn out to be the right decision.
Yeah. So for me, the final straw really was when I saw you walk away, because obviously we've been good friends and I've respected you for a long
14
time.
years, bro.
Yeah.
14 years and counting.
And obviously I was sad to see you go, and I didn't understand why, because we didn't chat about it. But what I did see is how it was handled. And just like with Elliot and with everybody else, for you, obviously, it's not about the work. I know you've been working your guts out, so I know there's something else there. So that normal, he just left because he's, with a lot of people, they're just too lazy, so they gave up, they're a quitter. But it's like, don't think that's for you. I've seen.
I don't think that applies to me.
Yeah, so that typical mentality doesn't fit there. And it wasn't like something mental, because it's like Hugh's in the right space here.
Hugh went mental and left.
So I think that because they knew that, they couldn't question your credibility. Nobody talked about it, and they didn't know how to do, so they just didn't do anything. And I remember if anybody ever brought up your name, it would be weird. Like some people would still say like sponsored by Hugh Zhang or something, or part of the Zhang team, and like nobody would. They didn't know what to do. They just
it's like a cringing across the room.
I'm sure. I even remember one of my business partners was trying to get a hotel room for a conference, and he called up one of our business mentors to ask about it, and he was talking about how he wants to learn to be a scrum master, like you're training people to do it,
right? And
he mentioned to this person that he's working with you, and the business mentor just couldn't believe it. Like hearing your name was like, what? Like that's like the thought of working with you is like that he's out of the system. Why would you work with him?
Isn't that like interesting? Like, we are creating this business more than just a business. It's like a family, it's a community that we support each other. But as soon as you leave,
you're not in the family.
You're done.
Support you.
We don't know you anymore.
And then last year we had a leadership out in California, and I was already like kind of on the outs. I was, everyone's supposed to be very clean shaven, and I was purposely growing out a really big beard because I was just like, I don't want to follow these rules. And I think that's the moment after that last year.
Like a big beard, like Samir kind of beard.
Maybe not that big.
That's a big one.
But I had a pretty sizable, unshaven beard, and they saw it. And because I was in New York, there in the Midwest, so they didn't see it in person. And it was funny. Before that, I was speaking at events. Yeah. After that, they never had me speak at another event. It was almost
because of your beard.
I mean, I don't know, but it was after that. Somebody said to somebody, "Hey, we can't have Paul speaking anymore," because they never had me speak anything anymore. Just suddenly, I was off the schedule somehow. Anyway, I remember
because you no longer talk about the same narrative.
Because obviously they knew I was no longer where they wanted me to be. In their mind,
you're a free radical.
Yeah, and
you're like
every
this.
Time I spoke,
this random guy.
Every time I spoke, even though I couldn't add a lot of value in terms of how to build the business, I added so much value in terms of how to live life better. I remember the week before I had my surgery for my cancer, I still drove into New York City to give my speech at a business event, and I was in such pain that I had to sit down because it was really painful, and I still freaking did it, and I added so much value. And then the next time I spoke, I talked about it, and in none of this time was I really doing much for my business. And I mean, anybody in the New York City business team, even though I know they're not really supposed to talk to me anymore, if they saw me, all they would feel is love, because I just gave so much. Even though those last few years I did almost nothing in business, every time I spoke, I would give so much value. I would talk about like how I started running a mile every day for a year and ran my first marathon. Like I was taking care of my health. Everybody loved it. They're getting so much value. But then of course, I'm not really building my business, so nobody really knew what to do with me or how to handle me. But whatever, I'm in New York, nobody really cares. And what went down with you really bothered me. And I told a lot of people, this really bothers me. Because on that last day of that California trip, I said, I'm going to go visit Hugh, and I said it to our business mentors, and they were so surprised that I was going to go see you. And I'm like, he lives a few minutes away.
Like 15 minutes away from the beach, Laguna.
I was surprised that they wouldn't go see you, because if I were them, if someone like you were to leave, such a pillar in the organization that, your business team, and the whole organization, in terms of sales, you could have half of it. A good percentage, 30-40% at least. I'd want to know, I would be fighting to keep you. I would be there saying, Hugh, what can I do differently? Like that call when they said, okay, Hugh, if you want to walk away, go ahead. I would have been like, Hugh, what can we do differently? How can I fix this? Because I want you to stay. And if it couldn't get you to stay, okay, I want to learn everything about why you're leaving so I don't have to do this again. But I realized they learned nothing. They didn't care. They didn't fight to keep you. Nobody cared. And it really bothered me. And I kept saying I have to talk to them. And then I realized I kept getting so nervous about bringing it up. And then I realized there's no point in bringing it up. They're just going to handle me. They're going to use some nice people skills, and nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to be done. And then I realized if this is how they're going to treat Hugh, a guy who's actually doing the work, unlike me, then if I were to leave, nobody would care. And that's exactly it. I left. Nobody really cared. And I was really just handled. The only reason that I got any reach out was because I didn't leave the WhatsApp groups for some of the inner circle. And I was indirectly asked by someone to leave because I haven't been doing the work. It doesn't matter that I launched our network marketing company in the Caribbean, helped hundreds and hundreds of people, changed their life, did something that no one else did what I did. And I just did it all from pure heart for wanting to help people. But to them it was inconvenience because going to the Caribbean, having a business there doesn't make them much money. It just sounds cool. And I realized that it doesn't matter how great I am, how much of a good person I am. If I'm not performing, then why am I here? And I'm a loose cannon. And so they indirectly asked me to leave, and then I didn't. So a couple of weeks later, I got a hot call. I got a reach out from a higher business mentor who said, "Hey, are you going to start building your business? Otherwise, leave the group." And I just didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to be handled. So I said, okay. And I just left all the groups. And I even called back because I was like, okay. And, and this person said, hey, I'd love to hang out with you sometime. And, there was no call back. They've never reached out to me since. I'm sure I haven't even crossed their mind. And it's very sad because I thought we were a family and I thought they cared for me. And I realized it's all words. I'm worth as much as I've done for them, and not overall. It's not what have I done for them in 10 years. It's what have I done for them lately. If I'm not somebody that they can promote to their newest person about, hey, duplicate exactly what this person's doing now, then I have no value to them.
Yeah,
it's nothing. Hey, Paul, he's focused on other things now, and in his heyday, he was really crushing this business, and he's got some real words of wisdom. Like you could still learn from him. Nope. Like that's what bothered me is. I have so much value. Like I know so much about life that I have learned that a lot of them have not experienced because they have not made the time to experience those things. And I could add so much value, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I can teach people how to build discipline in their life for those who don't have discipline, or how to get in shape for those who are in bad shape, or how to work on your mental health and stop doubting yourself. Like so many things that I've worked through, going to Peru twice by myself to the Amazon jungle and doing ayahuasca retreats and running a mile every day for a year, running 2 marathons, moving out of my parents' house, getting my dream job, learning, getting out into debt. Like so many things I could teach people about, but it's like, we don't care if you could teach people how to cure cancer, how to save the world, how to build a school in Guatemala. If it's not showing people here's how to make business your number one priority, then we can't promote you. And that's just very sad. And that showed me that they don't really care for me. And so I was very nervous to talk about these things on this podcast with you. And obviously we recorded this before and I was too emotional about it. And so we had to do it again.
Yeah.
And now I've just come to a place to realize that it is what it is. And,
I understand you feeling emotional about this, Paul, because if I go back a year ago, I would be pretty emotional actually. Because it's an emotional process. I mean, there's no way around this because we're leaving something that we put our heart into for over a decade.
Yeah.
If you're right now adding all logical, like how I sometimes right now, I'll be really like weird out. But like, why are you so logical? You just left this thing that you built for freaking 13 years, that you pour so much heart into, that you especially, when I think about that, I just think about Jamaica.
Yeah.
And the people that you serve, flying down, handing out hundreds of books, on your own dime. Like I doubt you make any money there. You really just kind of give out money there.
No.
No, I totally understand you.
Money.
I totally understand you being emotional, Paul, because it's no way not being emotional because you have given a lot, to the business and to the people. And like, even though maybe some people don't get that, but I think a lot of people understand, who know you, understand how much you have given to them as a person.
Yeah.
Business aside, let's now talk about business. Just like as a person, how much you supported people. That's always been who you are. Like you are the person that I know that I can count on to just love and help people, no matter who that person is, whether that person is in your business or not, or has any really effect on your business. I can always count on you to be like, hey, anything I can help, hey, anything that I can do for you.
And the issue
like, I can always go to you for that because I know that's like your heart is very pure in that sense. And that is kind of issue as I think the business start pivoting to like, oh, let's only bringing people that's all figured out, quote unquote, in life.
Yeah, that
they
are
got
qualified.
they got good jobs, good income, likely already have a family and kids, no guessing game. They are like, top of the food chain. Let's bring those people. So like, okay, your story of like, coming from like a lot of broken places, like learning how to put yourself together, like, oh, there's no really use for that.
Yeah, we don't care.
I can see how that like plays out. But no, I get it. I totally get it. And I can understand why you're emotional about this. And it's okay to let it out, I mean, it's
I am.
a lot of years that you sow into people.
I just wanted to be led by people who cared as much as I do, and who didn't say that they cared, and then it turns out they really don't. And it's a hard reality to realize, wow, I care for these people so much, and they just don't care for me. And it's all fake, because none of them have called me. All these people that I still consider my friends, and realize that none of them have called me. None of them have reached out. None of them said, how are you doing? Hey, are you okay? Hey, what's been going on with you? And it's just very sad and very disappointing. And it's a reality check to just say, hey, I get it. There's a lot of fakeness going on, and it is what it is. And I know who my real friends are.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think a lot of them just like, they also don't know how to. Kind of like how we were when Elliot left the business. We don't really know how to deal with it as well, too.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, it's not like individuals that chose to be this way. I think a lot of it is just like it's pretty deep in the roots. Yeah. It's in the culture that's been there for many years.
I don't blame any one person.
Yeah.
It's a cultural thing, and people step into that culture. It's hard to shift a culture. And so it's either accept how the culture is or get out. And some people are so far in, they just have to accept it. And like you said, they compromise their morals because they want the money. They want the significance. They want the financial independence.
And they want to be a celebrity.
Yeah, they get to be an underground celebrity. They definitely get that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're willing to sweep stuff under the rug and hope that nobody does what we're doing right now. So that's my last question for you, because I feel like we're wrapping things up.
Yeah, we should go to bed. So after we look at the star a little bit more.
How do you think this is going to be handled when we put this out? What's your prediction?
I don't really have any real prediction. I think people are going to, act the way that whatever helped them the most, I think. I mean, I can see them like just not do anything really.
Yeah.
Because like there's two people that really left the business, whatever they say doesn't really matter. That's kind of usually how it would go, I think. But then I think for some people, I think what I really care about, Paul, and this is really the biggest reason that I actually want to record something like this, is that I'm not okay with keeping the secret of how international students are okay to build a business. Yeah. That's just not right. It's not the fact. It's not true. The only thing I really care about that I want to get out for the podcast is just that if you're an international student, understand that from legally perspective, you are in a very risky position. Like the only thing you should really listen to is an immigration lawyer. Nobody are in the position to tell you like, oh, it's a gray area, or you can do this and not do this. The only person that is qualified to actually make any comment on this one is immigration lawyers. That's why, like, after I collected from 3 separate scenarios now, from 3 separate immigration lawyers in 3 separate cases, are all very straight out answers. Like, no, this is not okay for an international student to engage in. Like, that's, for me, that's really the biggest reason to put this out, number one. The second thing is, if I, like, want to say anything to anybody who, like, asks me for any advice, it's just, like, think for yourself, really.
Yeah.
Just think for yourself. That's it. Just don't give your critical thinking away. That's the most important thing, no matter how much you want to give that away sometimes. Because it's our human nature, I think, that to look for that authoritative figure to tell you how to live, especially when you're young, right? You want to be led. I think, like, I was listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson. He's a professor, I think, University of Toronto, I think. And he talks about a lot about like people had this like tendency to look for a authoritative figure to tell them, to give them answers. It's like a human tendency there. But then that's just not a way to really get to answer for yourself. You have to find answer for yourself. And I think besides the other one, this is the really only thing that I'll tell anybody. It's just like you gotta learn to think for yourself, because you are the only person that will be able to know yourself the most and understand what brings you happiness. And that's really the only thing that really matters, whether you build a marketing business or any other business, or have a YouTube channel, or dabble anything you want to do. Like the real question is is that getting you closer to truly happy? And that's the only for me, there's only the variables that I care about the most.
Yeah.
What do I do with my time, with family, or traveling, or working, or taking off photography, doing yoga. Like everything I do now is basically surrounding about those. Is that maximizing my ability to feel happiness and feel alive, and in the process maybe help some people, maybe add some value here and there. Like I don't have to be helping 10,000 people at a conference. That's not a goal actually. I just need to be the best version of me and find happiness for myself. If I can help one person, I felt very grateful. I felt very lucky and privileged if I can help one person.
It'll
That's
come
enough.
from a place of genuineness.
And being real, yes. Yeah. Being genuine is a very key thing for me now. Is being as real as I can.
What's that harmony quote you keep saying to me?
Oh, yeah. That's actually another thing actually that we didn't mention. I heard this saying, you know what? It's actually from Jordan Peterson. He said, genuine conflict brings a lot of social value and interpersonal value than fake harmony. And that's a big thing I saw, when we're back in business. It's everything surrounding around creating this fake harmony. It's it doesn't matter what you think, but if it's not contributing to this centralized narrative that we have in our business, don't say it. Or don't talk about privately.
Yeah,
right?
Can't talk about how much money you actually made. Can't talk about the person who left.
If you show any events, you have to put on a happy face. You
can't
have
talk
to
negative about your upline.
You have to be happy all the time. You have to be always positive.
Yeah, build up your mentor.
You have to always be this positive energy. How dare you come into our event and be negative?
Yeah.
The fake harmony is actually very dangerous.
Yeah.
Genuine conflicts, actually, I actually agree with that for sure. That if I have a conflict with you, Paul, I'll bring it out to your face, and I'll tell you, and have a conversation with you. I wouldn't pretend that it doesn't exist, and create a fake harmony around it, because it's just not genuine. It doesn't really solve any problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think for people who, who see something that's really off, that's just really funny,
call it out.
Call it out. Yeah. I mean, there's one thing I think you and I both, if we look back, one thing that we could have done that we didn't do, was back in the days when we see all those weird stuff that went down, we should just call it out.
Yeah.
We also bought into this let's value fake harmony. Let's value unity.
Yeah.
In the name of unity.
These people know better, so I'll just trust what
or
they're
let's
doing.
trust these authoritative figures, and let's just, focus only on unity. All the weird stuff that we saw, all the funny things we see went down, let's not bring it up.
Yeah.
Let's maintain unity, and let's not create any conflicts.
Yeah.
And that's one of probably the biggest mistake that we made. And one of the biggest things that I would change if I can go back is call out all the things I see that's just so weird, it's just so out of place. If something happens right now, I'll call it out right away. If it's not okay, I'll say something about it. And that's it.
I feel like I said what I needed to say.
All right, peace out.
Ciao.